Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Phantom Knights Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for September 2021. I really love the Phantom Knight deck. It's always been a favorite of mine since its release back during the Wing Raiders booster set. It was the deck used by Yugioh in the Arc 5 anime. The whole deck focuses on using Xyz monsters of the different Phantom Knight monsters, and then basically ranking up those different monsters along with just having consistency for a bunch of different rank 3 summons. And with the release of King's Court, we were given the new Utopic Draco Future monster, which is just so easily, used in this deck for the fact that we can summon out rank 3 monsters so easily to then Xyz into those Utopic Future monsters as extra boss monster power from the extra deck. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the actual main deck for the Phantom Knight monsters. We are running 3 of the Phantom Knights of Torn Scales. You can discard 1 card to send 1 Phantom Knights monster or card from your deck to the graveyard, except the Phantom Knights of Torn Scales. If another Phantom Knights card is in your graveyard, is banished while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use each effect of the Phantom Knights of Torn Scales once per turn. So this card is just meant for setup. Being able to send a Phantom Knights card means you can even send your different Phantom Knight spell and traps, which have special summon options for your Phantom Knight monsters in the graveyard, and also being able to special summon it from the graveyard when a Phantom Knights card in your graveyard is banished just gives you a resource to use as Xyz material on the field. And the banish doesn't really matter because you're going to use it as an Xyz summon most of the time, meaning it'll be detached as an Xyz material and not be banished, for it's no longer a monster on the field to use. So very useful. You definitely want to run 3 of this card. I believe it will be getting a reprint in the Mega Tin, since they did say they will be releasing Phantom Rage cards. So prior to when this video was obviously filmed, if the card was announced, hooray for that, because this is definitely a more pricey card, and people do like Phantom Knights. A lot of the rest of the deck is budget, so people who are wanting to pull this card will definitely be at ease if that ends up being in the Mega Tin. For some of the other Phantom Knight monsters, I'm running 3 Phantom Knights of Silent Boots. If you control a Phantom Knights monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon Phantom Knights of Silent Boots once per turn this way, and you can banish this card from your graveyard to add 1 Phantom Knight spell or trap from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of the Phantom Knights of Silent Boots once per turn. So with this special summon, it's great for consistency. You can summon out your Torn Scales onto the field, special summon Silent Boots, and then you have your 2 monsters for your rank 3 Xyz play right then and there, setting up the Torn Scales in the graveyard, potentially if you detach it for the effect of the rank 3 monster you make. But also if you were to detach Silent Boots, you get the banish and search for a good number of different Phantom Knight spells or traps we run on the deck, whether it be your rank up spells or any of the trap cards, being able to then set up and stop your opponent or power up your own Phantom Knights with those monsters or cards you searched. For some of the lower numbers for the Phantom Knights, I also run 2 Phantom Knights of Ancient Cloak. I dropped the number of this card in the deck more for the fact that Torn Scales is just much better setup, but you can still rely on Ancient Cloak for not just the power boost of changing this card to defense to gain another monster 800 attack on the field for your dark monster you control, but also you can banish this card from your graveyard to add 1 the Phantom Knights card from your deck to your hand, except for the Phantom Knights of Ancient Cloak. You can only use each effect of Ancient Cloak once per turn. So remember, it says the Phantom Knights, so it has to have that "the" in the name. It just can't be a Phantom Knights card, but there's still a good majority of cards we can search out, including the 2 cards we spoke of already, being Torn Scales and Silent Boots. And I'm only running 2 of this because, once again, we have a better setup and search power in the form of Torn Scales in the deck, but still having 2 Ancient Cloak to rely on just gives us more of the Phantom Knight resources in the deck to use for searches and summons onto the field. For the last of the Phantom Knight monsters in the main deck, I'm running 1 Phantom Knights of Ragged Gloves. If a Dark XYZ monster is summoned using this card on the field as Xyz material, it gains the effect. If it was Xyz summon, it gains 1000 attack, and you can banish this card from your graveyard to send 1 Phantom Knights card from your deck to the graveyard. You can only use each effect of Ragged Gloves once per turn. So you can set this card up in the graveyard pretty easily with some of your other cards. Torn Scales just being able to have the setup for sending a Phantom Knights card from your deck to the graveyard, giving you the send for Ragged Gloves, and then just the option to either summon it back in the field by using a Phantom Knight spell or trap in the graveyard that has the banished special summon, then powering up your other Phantom Knights Xyz monster you may have on the field already. For more of the rank 3 power, because going into rank 3 Xyz is a big part of the deck, I run 3 Kagamucha Knight. When you normal summon a level 3 monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. This card cannot be used as synchro material, but still, you're going to be going for Xyz summon. So you just normal summon your Phantom Knights of Torn Scale, you can special summon Kagamucha Knight from your hand, use the setup for Torn Scale, and then overlay the two together into your rank 3 Xyz play from there. For some other of the rank 3 Xyz engine, I am running 2 Psychic Tracker and 1 Psychic Wielder. Having the option with Psychic Wielder to be summoned out with your emergency teleport, or just controlling a level 3 monster other than Wielder to special summon this card from your hand, which is the good majority of the deck that we've already spoke of so far. Psychic Tracker having the same option if you control a level 3 monster. They benefit more from synchro plays, but just being easy to summon level 3 monsters is why I like running them in the deck. And with them being psychic monsters, it also gives us an emergency teleport option for the target to special summon. For more monsters with the level 3 power, I run 1 Danger Tsuchinoko and 1 Danger Jackalope. More graveyard setup, depending if your opponent discards a different card from her hand, potentially setting up other Phantom Knights in our graveyard, but then also being able to let us special summon a level 3 monster onto the field. For that setup, just gives us more for the rank 3 engine. That is the most important part of the deck. I'll go over more of the combo plays at the end of the video for what you can do for those Xyz plays to summon out the bigger boss monster, the Utopic Draco Future. I also am not running the Warrior Equip spell lineup anymore. I know there was an Isolde combo with the spells to summon out warrior monsters on the field. I just find cards like the Danger Engine and the Torguide Engine to be a lot faster, so I'm running 3 Torguide from the Underworld along with 1 Farfa and 1 Skarm for the Burning Abyss targets. If you didn't want to run the Burning Abyss engine in the deck, you can always put in cards like Sangin or Torbust from the Underworld, just so you have additional targets for Torguide to special summon onto the field aside from herself. Skarm also searches out Torguide, so that's another plus of why I like running it in the deck. Just remember, they mostly of the time have to be summoned through Torguide, so their effects are negated. Otherwise, they'll just be destroyed when they hit the field, since you don't have any other Burning Abyss. And using Farfa for the banish play and Skarm for the search play for your opponent's monsters, and then your own Torguides. And also to finish off the monsters in the main deck, I run 3 Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, just the hand trap of choice, and the fact that it is also a level 3. So if the emergency pops up where you have to use it as an Xyz play to continue your combos, you have that option available. But more of the time, it's just meant to use in the deck as a way to shut down your opponent's searches or set up in the graveyard. And that is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. I run 2 of the Phantom Knights Rank Up Magic Force. During the main phase, banish 1 or more dark monsters from your graveyard, then target 1 dark Xyz monster you control. Special summon from your extra deck 1 the Phantom Knights, Raid Raptor, or Xyz Dragon XYZ monster from whose rank equals that of the targeted monster you control, plus the number of monsters banished by using it as material for the rest of this turn. After this card resolves, you control special summon monsters from the extra deck except for Xyz monsters. Then it is treated as an Xyz summon, and also transfer its materials to the summoned monster. You can only activate 1 the Phantom Knights Rank Up Magic Xyz Force per turn, so we don't really have any high level Xyz monsters in the deck, but being able to go into cards like Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon and also Dark Requiem Xyz Dragon that much more easily with this option for the Xyz play gives us immense combo use in the deck with this card. Being a search target for cards like Silent Boots is just an added bonus. I also run the 1 Phantom Knights Rank Up Magic Launcher, so we have more combos since this is also a once per turn for the setup. You can rely on having Rank Up Magic Launch in your hand as well for the summon onto the field, and using Rank Up Magic Force for the additional summon of higher and higher ranked monsters. If you were to go for the rank 4 Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon with your Phantom Knights Rank Up Magic Launch using your Break Sword on the field, you can then banish 1 additional monster and then summon out Rank Up Magic Force right after you use your first rank 4 Xyz monster. And for some of the one-ofs for the spells, I run 1 Monster Reborn, just more special summoning resources from the graveyard back onto the field. The emergency teleport for the target for the Psychic Wielder, and the other Psychic monster, the Psychic Tracker we run in the deck. 2 great targets to summon out into the field, being just level 3 monsters to use. Also, Foolish Burial can set up any of our Phantom Knight monsters in the graveyard to make use of their effects, along with Call by the Grave to shut down our opponent's plays. 1 Reinforcements of the Army for the good majority of the Phantom Knight monsters. Being Warrior, it's just an easy search to our hand. And lastly, the 1 Harpy's Feather Duster. Xyz plays are a big part of the deck altogether, so we really need to clear out that opponent's back row to make sure they don't have anything to disrupt those plays, like Solemn Strike or Solemn Warning. And those are it for the spells. Moving on now to the traps. I'm running 3 Phantom Knights Fogblade. You activate this card by targeting 1 effect monster on the field, negate that face-up monster's effects. That face-up monster cannot attack. Also, so monsters cannot target that face-up monster for attacks. And when it leaves the field, destroy this card. And you can banish this card from your graveyard to target one, the Phantom Knights monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. But most of the time, the card you summon will either be used for a rank up Xyz play or an Xyz play altogether if it was a level 3 monster. So you have more and more resources to use with this card, whether you summon out your Phantom Knight's Breaksword or any of the level 3 effect monsters from the graveyard back onto the field. This is just another great card that can be set up with cards like Tornscale and searched out by Silent Boots. I also run 2 Phantom Knights of Shade Brigandine. Now this is in the deck more for the fact that we have other cards to go into. Most of the time you can summon out Raider's Knight with the rank up Xyz play, but you can also summon out Shade Brigandine, also the Breaksword special summon to give you Phantom Knights that are treated as level 4 monsters on the field. But most of the time Shade Brigandine is also used for summoning out our Link 3 monster, the Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardish. More setup and destruction with this card in use in the deck. For the last of the traps that we run in the deck as well, I run 1 Phantom Knight's Wing. It's a power boost card to your monster on the field, and also just having another banish special summon option. Shade Brigandine doesn't have the banish option from the graveyard for special summon, but you can rely on Wings and Fogblade for all that special summoning resources. And that is it for the main deck. When I move on to the extra deck, I run 2 Phantom Knights of Breaksword. With this card needing 2 level 3 monsters, it's pretty generic for all the different cards we run in the deck. Once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this card to target 1 card you control and 1 card your opponent controls. Destroy them, and if the Xyz summon card is destroyed, you can target 1, the Phantom Knights, actually 2, the Phantom Knight monsters with the same level in your graveyard. Special summon them and increase their levels by 1. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of this turn except for dark monsters. Really not a limit there at all for that play on the special summon, but being able to target this card for the destruction, then one of your opponent's cards gives you a destruction play, and then opens up your other plays to then go into your rank 4 plays, which I run 1 Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon and the 1 Raider's Knight, giving you plenty of options with all of these cards. And Raider's Knight is always treated as the Phantom Knight's monster, so with it, it can also be special summoned from the graveyard using your Phantom Knight's Fogblade or any of the other traps set up. For the bigger boss monsters, I run 1 Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon and 1 Dark Requiem Xyz Dragon. Arc Rebellion being able to hit some pretty high attack point power and then hit for your opponent for potentially game, and Dark Requiem Xyz Dragon being able to detach 1 Xyz material, target a face-up monster your opponent control, changing its attack to 0, and also when your opponent activates a monster effect, being able to stop it by basically detaching an Xyz material. For more of the generic rank 3 Xyz plays, I run 1 Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss. It works well with the few Abyss monsters we have in the deck, and also just being able to mill and set up more cards in the graveyard. Leviair the Sea Dragon to get back our potentially banished cards that we used in the game also. And lastly, the 1 number 47 Nightmare Shark for the other rank 3 Xyz monsters we run. For the Utopic engine, I am running 1 number F0 Utopic Draco Future and 1 number F0 Utopic Future. You most of the time will overlay into the Utopic Future and then go into the Utopic Draco Future, since you can also Xyz summon this card using a number F0 Utopic Future, placing it on top, giving you more and more Xyz plays for this card, and also just being able to stop your opponent's monster setup. For the Link monsters, I run 1 Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardish, I already spoke of before. This card can easily set up your Phantom Knight spell or traps on the field, and also give you options for destroying cards that your opponent controls. It can't be used as a Link summon, but it's most of the time just going to be your setup monster on the field for more and more of your Phantom Knight plays. For some of the more generic Link monsters, I run 1 Wee Witch's Apprentice, 1 Nightmare Phoenix, and 1 Nightmare Unicorn. For the plays when you can go into them, they definitely do help, and the discard off of the Nightmare monsters is just more potential cards you can use in your graveyard. As for some of the go-to plays, the Tornscale play is definitely one of my favorites. If you just open up this card and have one of the special summon engines, whether it be your Kagamusha Knight or the Silent Boots, you can then special summon that card onto the field. So we'll go with the Silent Boots for the play. Setting up both of these cards, if you just normal summon your Tornscale, being able to discard another card to send a Phantom Knight card from your deck to the graveyard, you can then set up your Phantom Knights of Ragged Gloves in the graveyard. What's great about this setup is if you go via the Kagamusha Knight and you go for the Breaksword play, you can at least use the discard set of Tornscales to set up a second Phantom Knight monster in your graveyard to use. So we'll go with that for the summoning this, and then let's just say you detach or discard the other Phantom Knight monster to send another one from your deck to the graveyard. For that play, you can then overlay the 2 cards together and summon out your Xyz monster, which is the Phantom Knight of Breaksword, detaching for the card to destroy itself and one of your opponent's monsters. Then you you can use the Phantom Knight of Breaksword to set up the other 2 cards you summoned onto the field from the graveyard. Having both higher levels, you can then use the Xyz play to either go into Raider's Knight or your Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon, player's choice, depending on what you may want to go against your opponent. Having the Ragged Gloves be the higher level means it also gains attack for your Dark Rebellion on its own, putting it at 3,500 alone with just those cards, and still having the option of detaching to hit bigger numbers for your opponent, and then banish these cards for more setup in the graveyard and search for the spell or trap plays. For the Utopic Draco Future play, it all comes down to if you have enough of the summons to use for your Xyz plays, going for the same special summon option with both of these cards if you have these 2 cards for that summon, and then if you just have the additional setup for your summons on the field. It could be a danger monster or even one of these psychic monsters for the special summon controlling a level 3 monster. For both of those options, you'll then overlay both of the monsters as we did before for the Xyz plays for that summon, and then the second one can be the Xyz monster of choice. Dante can even set up more cards in the graveyard for you to use, and then with both of those monsters ready, you will then overlay the 2 for this card by overlaying those 2 monsters. You always want to use those resources first when you have them, and you can potentially also summon Breaksword back from the graveyard by banishing a Fogblade, because you'll just need that 1 monster for the material, then overlaying the 2 into the Utopic Future, and then into your Utopic Draco Future on the field. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy the video. Like I said, I always like messing around with Phantom Knights. The deck always seems to be changing, even with the little support we got. We got a massive amount of support back in the release of Phantom Rage, but still changing ever so more, and I really do like that we have more of a rank 3 Xyz focus in the deck. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.